One thing he says is, until the day we go from poverty to stock options, today is all we got. We cannot stop. This is our block.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Sounded like you made it up.
I mean, Jack Dorsey just dropped it here.
Welcome everyone to the 5th episode of Think Out Louder. Today we're going to talk about Twitter, the exit of Mr. Dorsey and him joining Square as full-time CEO, the block of companies within Square, which now is going to be called Block. So stick around, you're going to learn a lot about all of the aforementioned companies, which happen to stem from the mind of one man, Dorsey. Go.
Okay, hey everybody. So episode number 5. A lot has happened in the last 2 weeks. We couldn't wait to make this episode. There's a lot of shakeups that's happening in the tech world. To start off with, Twitter has had a new CEO join. Represent, yes, Parag Agrawal. Yeah, and longtime CEO, founder of the company, Jack Dorsey, has officially resigned, as well as decided to move away from Twitter permanently. That's crazy news. What do you guys first thoughts?
Oh man, I'm loving it. Honestly, I thought Jack Dorsey was doing way too much, heading a multi-billion-dollar social media company and then a multi-billion-dollar fintech company as well. First thoughts, really good for the entire fintech community.
So you're more you're biased towards Square, so you wanted him to leave Twitter so that he can focus on your baby.
100%, 100%. Twitter, unfortunately, is already at a stage where it needs more of a experienced sort of a technical driving force, and I think Parag Agrawal is perfect fit for that. He was a CTO and now the CEO. Perfect and beautiful transition. What are your thoughts, Blake?
Anytime like a white guy passes on a job to a brown guy, like I think, where's the shit? What is he getting passed on with? Clearly, Jack Dorsey has bigger fish that he wants to catch. He needs someone to take care of his lesser ventures like Twitter. So the big news is on everything else which is happening with Square and Jack Dorsey and the building blocks that form from there. That's the big news.
Part of the reason I think he decided to move on is the fact that maybe he just had enough of Twitter, because Twitter, first of all, the stock price wasn't doing well, and they tried really, really hard to sort of help in monetization and increase this share value, because it hasn't moved since IPO, the stock. As well as to compound the issues is he gets frequently called to Congress, and he has to answer for things that happen on the platform, because Twitter is an open platform and people talk, and there's a lot of censorship issues. There's a lot of right-wing conspiracy theories and all of that gets amplified on Twitter. So maybe one of my feelings was he just had enough and he was looking for the right time to move.
Maybe he's just bored of that social media platform.
Yeah.
In the end, I think it's all about the money, right? The shareholders, some of the most powerful shareholders wanted him out. Well, money speaks, and I think this is yet another example of that.
Yeah, that reminds me. So early 2020, Twitter got a massive investment from, I don't know if you guys heard of Elliot Management. So Elliot Management is known to be an activist investor. So whenever they put their money in a company, they tend to go in big and they tend to try to shake things up, So they usually choose companies that are not doing anything, companies that are sort of failing. The last investment they went in was in eBay, when eBay was struggling. So as soon as Elliot management got into Twitter, had a lot of stake in it, they decided to start up making these changes. But it took like a year for the CEO to change. But still, people were expecting something like this to happen. It comes to my my next thing. I know we spoke about Parag Agrawal, but what do you think? He has tough shoes to fill, right?
Well, Parag seems to be not new to Twitter. He's been around for a while. He's worked with the senior management for a good number of years. If they chose him, it means that they found something valuable about him that would lead one of the biggest social media platforms in the world. Jack Dorsey's exit is as we already spoke about. Some of the biggest investors in Twitter wanted him out because he had very rigid ideologies on how he wanted Twitter to stay. It means that Twitter would have bigger wings to fly higher. Whether it flies higher in terms of more viewers or whether it flies higher in terms of more revenue coming in is yet to be seen.
Parag is being compared to Satya Nadella and
Well, man, no, I didn't expect that from you, Oliver.
No, I'm not saying it. They're comparing him with the other successful CEOs that took over from the founders, like Satya Nadella and Sundar Pichai, and they essentially like really did an amazing job in Microsoft and Google. So this is a great opportunity for him.
I think
really
we should set aside the fact that he's Indian and then just look at him as a successor, and just looking at even forgetting the fact that he was in a CTO, etc., like primed to be in this position. There are two things that we really need to consider here. One is that he is an insider who knows the political nature of Twitter and has sat on several of the meetings. I'm sure he was involved in the meeting that happened before banning Donald Trump. And statistically as well, when you look at all other companies that have transitioned into a CEO who is an insider who knows the socio-political nature of the company, they have done better than choosing an external CEO. Second thing is, I think we're stupid to ignore the political nature of a social media company like Twitter. And Parag Agrawal sort of fits that left-wing minded ideology that you have to limit certain sections of the society, because exactly like what happened with Donald Trump and all of the right-wing people who got banned from Twitter. I think this trend will continue going forward.
Yeah, true. So yeah, to your first point about him coming from the inside, I am really glad that they selected someone from the inside, because even if they did select someone from the outside and gotten a big guy, it would have taken him or her like a lot of time to catch up and then make changes and then be productive in order to sort of help Twitter or save Twitter. So the fact that he was part of the executives for a long time from 2017, I think it's great. And he's clearly, yes, to your second point, he's clearly left-leaning. He's not too fussed about censorship. He's a little more open about cleaning up the platform, choosing what dialogue to allow from all of his various interviews that I've heard.
Apart from who's leading the team, Jack Dorsey might not be the CEO of Twitter. He wasn't in the past as well. It doesn't mean that he does not have an influence in Twitter. As an innovator and as one of the founders of Twitter, he will still have a say in things, and he can always step into the driving section of management.
Actually, he can't because he gave up his board seats as well as resigned. So essentially, he's now just a shareholder, and he wasn't a big shareholder of Twitter because he left and he came back. Okay. So he doesn't own a big chunk of the company to make a decision like that. Yep. Neither now does he own both seats, so he can't make executive calls.
Well, he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to have a vote per se to have an influence on the people in Twitter for sure.
Yeah, and I'm saying in terms of an influence, but like there's one thing is that he could have an influence. The second thing is he maybe doesn't want an influence He probably wants to leave it behind.
He definitely probably wants to leave it behind, because you and I and all of us know that lately he's only been tweeting, only been talking about Bitcoin. Not even Square, just focused on Bitcoin. So clearly his priorities are where he wants it to be moving forward. That brings us to the second bombshell. Just 2 days after the Twitter news, Square officially rebranded, and Square is now called Block.
Love it.
That caught me off a little. Normally, the evolution of a square would be to a cube.
Isn't that similar? Though?
How is a block
But I guess
different?
block does
A
put
block
pun
can
of
be a cube.
crypto. Sorry?
A block can be a cube as well.
It is. That's why. It also allows the pun of crypto into the game, because he's not playing around. He knows what he wants to use as a technology in the future, and that's a pretty bold statement. It's as bold as the Cybertruck. To me, that's the only thing close enough I could refer to.
But Cybertruck is just another car in Tesla. It's like Tesla naming Tesla Mars or something.
I think this is the coming of a new age of the metaverse, and these are clear signals that all of the most powerful people in the world are giving us that the next step is Web 3.0, and we're moving towards a blockchain dominated society. If you look at all the companies that are going to fall on the block, right? It makes total sense. Like the Cashapp and Spiral linked with BTC. Blockchain is a part of Square as much as people would like to deny it.
It's not blockchain specific. Like all the initiatives of Square are specific to Bitcoin. So Square is only focusing on Bitcoin at the moment in order to advance Bitcoin infrastructure, Bitcoin adoption, and transaction.
When I say blockchain, I do mean Bitcoin.
So they've picked a horse that they want to bet on, and they bet big on it, and they're going all in. They're changing the track. They're changing everything for this horse to win.
But coming to like the name specifically, do you guys like it? Do you not like it? What do you think?
What's to like? It's a block. It doesn't really inspire much,
Did Square inspire much before it was actually the company that we know today?
Well, the Square, it started out with its humble beginnings, which was a Square POS system. POS is
Reader.
Point of sale, not point of science. But that it inspired its humble beginnings of like your mom and pop stores and entering the digital generation. With these little devices, which made it easy for everyone to use digital transactions.
The entire reason for changing the name is to actually signify that the company is transforming, and it is not just that singular POS providing company anymore. It's in music, it's in crypto, it's in business to business loans. It's in now Afterpay. It's in consumer loans. So it's a company. The name Square doesn't really fit all of these, and therefore I think it was the next logical move. It's literally moving from the 2D realm into the 3D realm, and it makes total sense to me.
Conceptually, I love it, and the reason that they're doing it, I buy it and I love it. I just don't like the name Block. It's way too You know the number of blockchain companies that are called Block. It's like Blockworks, Block, Crypto Block, Blockchain. Like there are so many.
It's like the joke. It's like the joke which I used to tell people. When people ask me what I would name my dog, I would say I would name it a dog. So it'll be funny because I'll be calling out my dog by its name, which is dog.
You can inception with the name.
That was a joke, but I would never really do it. I wouldn't expect someone like Square to turn into a block.
But then don't you like hitting on that point that there's so many block names and everything? I think it helps using a ubiquitous name like that so that you can encompass everything within that technology, and all the firms are now, anyone who ever reads a blockchain related or block related company is going to think of now Block, the billionaire company in the US. And
normally I don't care so much about a name, but this particular name I don't like.
Did you like Apple?
Yeah, amazing name.
I still don't like Apple.
It makes no sense, but it's just simple. Like if they had gone for square, they've gone to rectangle. I'd be like, cool. But
Apple signified quite a lot actually when they selected the name. There's so many things that people associated an apple with, like Newton's. Although that story is completely bogus, the apple falling on Newton's head. Then that started the scientific revolution. Then you have Apple from the Garden of Eden. That was Eden, and all of humanity is suffering.
As per biblical stories, what you see on your throat, that's Adam's apple of our earliest ancestor who didn't completely swallow his apple.
Okay, cool. I wanted to touch on a little bit of like why they rebranded, and to me it had to be done because Square now sort of owns like a portfolio of companies that kind of don't sort of work together, like they work independently. And the name Square, which was synonymous to their seller ecosystem and their merchant tools, not only didn't really fit in, but would be very confusing to the consumer. Like a Square merchant trying to look for tools is like Square Crypto, Square this, Square Cashapp. It's like, I'll just go to an easier solution. So they had to like break it up into a portfolio of companies and name the parent brand as something. It's interesting to me that they chose Block because clearly it fits in conceptually, and it is like it's paying homage to the blockchain and to Bitcoin. But yeah, so it works conceptually and it had to be done. So I'm happy that way. Not particularly pleased by the name choice.
The closest comparison is Google and Alphabet.
Alphabet.
No one thinks about Alphabet.
No one cares about it.
Even is the stock of Google called Alphabet? No, I don't believe it is. It is Google.
GOOG. Yeah.
Yeah, GOOG. So yeah, I would not stress into the block. I would look at its kids: Square, Spiral, TBD, Tidal, the music platform, and Afterpay, who I've used before, is pretty fantastic actually. So very promising what it can offer. I don't care on what block it came from.
Mo, do you think that they're going into a bit too risky territory by like reshaping their company to Bitcoin and blockchain?
Anything that delves into blockchain technology or crypto is inherently risky just because it's such a new technology. We are only witnessing the advent of cryptocurrencies being used in the financial ecosystem. And I think that, yeah, it is a risky move, but with risk comes reward. If Jack Dorsey manages to fulfill his vision like he did with Twitter, if he manages to fulfill, or with Square actually, his vision, and now if he manages to fulfill his vision of making Bitcoin the dominant currency of the world, that would be massive reward. I heard one of the major investors saying that buying Square now would be like buying JP Morgan in 1890 or something like that. So it's like the start of you can think of it as a pointy edge of a wedge, and it's only going to keep going up from here.
Yeah, it's like a new financial system, and you're buying the best person or the most likely successor of the new financial system. It's interesting. So Square's mission is and was democratizing access to commerce and finance. So that's why they built commerce tools, Cashapp, finance, like peer-to-peer payments and everything. It might change to because Jack Dorsey keeps saying this in every interview, that his goal is to make Bitcoin the global reserve currency of the internet. So that's what they're aiming to advance Bitcoin by improving the infrastructure, creating on-ramps, off-ramps, wallets, adoption to make Bitcoin the not a currency or value of or like store of value, but literally the global reserve currency for the internet. I think that is a mad goal.
It is a really bold move. I remember when Elon Musk started out with Tesla maybe a decade back, when it first started having their initial cars, they were pretty open about the designs and copyrights. They always offer the technology for anyone trying to compete, which was a really bold move in the sense that they offer the technology for any competitors to use it. But what they were doing is they were creating a whole new industry because it depended on overwhelming whatever existing industry was in place. So once the industry grows, they have a bigger piece of the pie. Maybe their slice of the pie is smaller, but it's a bigger cake. There's more rewards there by paving the way for other institutions to come in as well. And being the front runner means you have the best slice of the pie in that cake.
Yeah, this open source thing that you spoke of, like I was always wondering. So Spiral, which is one of the initiatives of Block, is they're trying to make it an open source thing. So they're trying to create recently they released the Lightning Dev Kit, so an ability for anyone to use Bitcoin Lightning Network. And I was like, how does that make sense? Like, how does Square benefit? I kept thinking like sort of laterally or literally. But the Tesla point that you made sense, right? So Tesla would succeed if not only Tesla, but the whole ecosystem and everything that is dependent on like battery technology and everything sort of succeeds. So that makes sense. So by creating an ability for Bitcoin to succeed, Block will end up succeeding.
Can I look at this from a different point of view? I think what Square is... Yes. I think what Square is trying to achieve is at odds with what Block or blockchain or Bitcoin or TBD is trying to achieve. When you think about it, like really think about it, Square is going to become a conventional financial organization. They've actually applied, and I think they have already got the approval to be a bank. They are a certified actual bank. So this is the industry that Bitcoin is trying to disrupt. And the whole reason why Bitcoin is so successful is that it is an alternative to the financial ecosystem, the current conventional financial ecosystem. So I think this is a defensive move from Jack Dorsey, where if the financial ecosystem really does tank and what we are using is Bitcoin in future or any other cryptocurrency, then Square or TBD has a leg in it. So I think it's a good way to look at it as well.
It's a great way, and I heard someone else mention it in another podcast. So it's like they're essentially two parts of their business. One works in the traditional finance and is like doing really well in that realm, which is like Cashapp, Square Seller tools and all of that. And then the super murky, risky, future-focused division, which is Spiral and TBD, is sort of to ensure, first of all, to make like Bitcoin the future, as well as to save and make the whole company Bitcoin focused eventually. So yeah, I completely agree with that could be one of their sort of thing.
Let's look at, we've been very optimistic about Bitcoin and its connection to the block, but let's also look at the other offerings of block. Let's look at each of those offerings. We already spoke about Spiral, we spoke about TBD. What happens to the Square platform, which is your everyday users? I believe Square will still be a sort of a cash cow.
Definitely a cash cow. The problem with their seller tools is it's not like viral growth. It's like B2B, right? So in order to expand into a new region, you have to deploy a sales team and like slowly, organically grow. It's doing really well, as in it's bringing in a lot of money, but it's not growing as much as their other initiatives are growing. And yes, there are a lot of different places that they can get into, but there are a lot of other POS players in the market, and some are way bigger than Square. So I'd say they cannot only rely on that, although it's doing quite well for them. In fact, Cashapp is an interesting initiative, because Cashapp is their B2C focused solution, right? So it's a peer-to-peer payment platform, as well as investing, crypto, and stuff you can do on that app. It's been consistently the number one finance app in the US, and it's also, I think, in Canada, and it's growing like virally. They have about 70 million monthly active users on that app, which has grown really quickly.
So Cashapp, from what I understand, I've never used it. It allows you to buy Bitcoin, buy stocks this year.
Yep.
And what else can Cashapp do?
So buy stocks, buy crypto, and peer-to-peer payments.
You can think of not what it offers right now, but what it can offer in the future as well. It's mining data at the moment, with every purchase that anyone is doing, any transfer, any investment that's happening. It's actually mining a lot of data. And if you look at what Square has done previously with data, with their POS system, is they use that system to give loans out to small businesses. They completely bypassed credit card checking or credit score checking. In the US, you need a credit score to get a loan out of a financial institution. Square revolutionized this, and they just give direct loans, 9-month duration loans to small businesses that they can repay based on the data that they collected, and then from the POS system directly, the loan was repaid in percentages to Square. This is an incredible idea, and the same thing I think they're doing with Cashapp on the consumer side with Afterpay acquisition. They're going to use it to give out loans.
Even before Afterpay, so Afterpay is a huge point, but even before Afterpay, the beauty of Cashapp is the target demographic, right? So Cashapp targets largely a very younger population, as well as a very diverse population. So more economically not, great customers who should be able to bank, should be able to transact, but aren't able to based on our financial metrics or conventional financial metrics. So that's why Cashapp absolutely exploded in growth, because it was able to sort of attract the younger population. In fact, recently they got clearance to onboard users who are over the age of 13. So
wow.
Like kids could now create Cashapp accounts, buy stocks. Maybe not, I don't know about the stocks and crypto, but definitely like traditional spend money, transfer money.
One additional thing that Cashapp does is it provides education as well. So if you're a 13-year-old getting into finance, you can actually study core financial topics within the app. So
I don't think any 13-year-old is joining Cashapp to study financial topics. They are on Cashapp to buy drugs and buy illegal stuff.
It's a very dim view of the world. I think
would I still go on an app? I mean, you would still have a niche of the nerds who would go into finding these little small nooks and crooks of the corners of the internet to find little articles that they can read. And having some first-hand experience and things like that. But most teenagers are they're looking at what's new and what's great, and
Yeah.
how they can live their life better because they're more open to technology.
Yeah, also Afterpay would help.
Afterpay makes complete sense. Your dad doesn't give you enough pocket money, but I really want this now, so I'll pay it off in the next 4 installments from the pocket money I get from my dad, because I really want it now because I need to impress this girl.
Afterpay integrated with the Cashapp would work really well because you'd see people, kids, youth going on to Cashapp, looking at, because Afterpay you can look at offers on different like merchants who use Afterpay. It's like a sort of lead gen tool for merchants.
Yeah.
So you would go to Cashapp and browse, window shop and like spend money. So it'll be the interface for commerce, which it's not right now. Yeah. So moving along. Actually, so before we end this podcast, I really want to spend the last section to talk about their Bitcoin initiatives, because right now it's only like fluff, TBD, Spiral, Bitcoin Lightning, blah blah blah. But strategically, how does it work, and what are they trying to do? I wanted to like share with you guys what I sort of like analyzed. What is like the Bitcoin transaction? So there's miners, there's Bitcoin that's being generated. There's Bitcoin that's being exchanged, and it's been bought by consumers who are transacting, trading, and hoarding Bitcoin, right? So what Square is trying to do with their Spiral and TBD initiative is they want to attack these 3 different sort of verticals with their 3 initiatives. The first thing they want to do is they want to release a Bitcoin mining device. Currently, the problem with mining is it's too concentrated, it's too hard, it's too energy rich. So they want to release a very simple device that anyone can hook onto their power source and start mining Bitcoin. So that'll be like the start of their money creation. Yeah. Any thoughts on a mining device?
I have 2 phones, 2 laptops. I don't mind leaving it on full time because one of each is owned by my company. I don't mind running it full time. It makes me like $5 worth it.
Yeah, but the entire economy of mining is quite straightforward. The amount of energy you spend on doing the calculations for you to earn Bitcoin should be costing you less than the amount mined, and then you're in a profit.
A slight profit.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, this whole mining device thing, right? If it comes with incredible processing power, it makes sense. I have tried mining Bitcoin on a dial-up when it first started a long time ago, and we could mine maybe 0.5 or 1 Bitcoin back in the day if we ran it for like 2 or 3 days. But now you need a warehouse filled with servers and processing power just to mine 1 Bitcoin in maybe a few months. So how is Square going to bring a small device which can run efficiently enough for you to be mining Bitcoin and be profitable in that venture? I really don't get it, and I don't know what it doesn't make sense to me in its current
I'm not
form.
sure either. That's the one bit that there is unclear, and I don't know how it's going to work. But just the idea that right now it's hard. Not only is it computationally hard, but you don't even know where to start. Like, what would you where would you get the stuff? So mining right now is quite centralized. So maybe if they somehow are able to solve it by releasing a very efficient, a very accessible device, maybe they can help make it available for more people. The next thing is the exchange. So now you mine the Bitcoin with a Square device or a block device, and now they're creating a decentralized exchange via TBD, which is going to enable direct transfer of Bitcoin from like one person to another. So right now, all our transactions of buying and selling crypto happens through centralized exchanges like Coinbase, CoinSpot, what have you. But there are no sort of decentralized exchanges that are ubiquitous at the moment. There's Uniswap and PancakeSwap, but no one really uses that because it only deals with like Ethereum tokens. So solving that will get more people. It would sort of decentralize the whole exchange process. So DEX, which is part of the TBD announcement, is what they're going to be building. They're going to be building a decentralized exchange. You'll easily be able to transfer your fiat currency, your Australian dollars, your US dollars, and hold it in Bitcoin and convert it at any given time in order to spend the Bitcoin.
I think they're on the money with this one. The mining part of it really didn't make sense to me, but with the exchange, the biggest problem with any cryptocurrency like Bitcoin is its actual on-ramp and off-ramp of a fiat currency. And also the fact that it needs to be a trust-based system with identity verification. So if you just read the first paragraph of their white paper, it states out clearly that they're creating an exchange between assets by providing a framework for establishing social trust, utilizing decentralized identity and verifiable credentials to establish the provenance of identity in the real world. So basically, they're solving the problem of trust, and following on from that will be the problem of on-ramp and off-ramp, and these two things totally make sense. If they solve this, it's going to be an incredible milestone in the history of cryptocurrency.
This no one is actually doing, which I found quite mind-boggling, because no one's actually doing this. The conversion, the easy conversion in a decentralized fashion of fiat to crypto, or fiat to Bitcoin, fiat to Ethereum, is not happening right now just because of the identification. Because in order to even touch fiat currency, you need to fulfill like KYC checks, and like you need to sort of like give up a lot of your identity information, and that's why it's a huge pain point. So this aims to solve that in order to create a decentralized sort of exchange. And finally, the part that is easy to understand is their wallet. So this is the third initiative, is they want to create a hardware as well as an app form cloud-based wallet for people to easily be able to store their private keys as well as like use their Bitcoin and convert it and pay for their regular like transactions.
Well, a hardware wallet is sort of a tricky thing, really. Like, you have to actually convince people that their online holdings are valuable enough for them to be purchasing an external device, particularly from Square, and then storing it within their ecosystem. I think it makes sense when this hardware is connected with the DEX platform and their Square POS device. If you are able to carry Bitcoin in your hardware wallet or the cloud, and you walk into a coffee shop and you're able to, no matter where you're in the world, on-ramp onto the currency of that particular country, pay, and then off-ramp straight back into Bitcoin, or just off-ramp the amount that you need into fiat of that particular country to play at the POS, that would be the
game changer.
That would be the game changer. That would be a trailblazing activity that Square pioneers.
But in terms of using it as a regular transaction, so every time you use your card or you tap on with your phone and purchase a coffee, there's about a small percentage which goes as transaction fees. So this would happen first from crypto, which is Bitcoin, to the fiat currency, and then from the fiat currency of your bank into the POS system and onto the business owner's bank account. So wouldn't that mean 2 transactions?
Let's look at the current transaction. The current transaction, there are a lot of different players. So say if you want to buy something from a coffee shop, right? In between when you tap, there is MasterCard, there's Visa, there's your bank that transacts with I think it goes to the Reserve Bank, and then from the Reserve Bank, there's a connection to their bank. From their bank, it goes to MasterCard and to the merchant's bank finally. So there are a lot of different players, and MasterCard and Visa have taken a huge chunk of that transaction because essentially they're like gatekeepers, as well as banks have banks fees. Not to mention all of this is centralized. The TBDex, they are saying it would have close to 0 transaction fees because they're just creating an infrastructure for this to happen. There might be slight transaction fees that Square charges, but or block charges, but it's not going to be anywhere close to our current financial system. And not to mention the advantage of having to use that one device universally, right? You want to buy in any country, you don't have to bother with like a card from an international card, pay high fees, remittance, all of that. So there are definite benefits of it that are game changing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we've touched on some of the strong points of Block's bold new strategy. But one thing which has been playing on my mind, maybe I'm being a bit pessimistic, is the regulations, the federal government regulations for each country.
Regulatory risk is not only with blockchain, there's always regulatory risk with even acquisitions. If you look at the acquisition of Afterpay, it's still not completed and stamped because the Bank of Spain is holding out. They need to provide regulatory approval for this to go through, and therefore it's pushed to 2022 when the shareholders have given a green light. Square's ready to pay the money. But yeah, regulatory approval risk and regulatory risk is a part of the risk profile that comes with Bitcoin.
One of the things they said in the TBDex white paper was that their off-ramp and on-ramp in the fiat of whatever currency, the identification that you would have to give up would depend on the country. So in some countries, the identification would be different.
Correct.
More strict, less strict. So they're going to be complying with the country's regulatory requirements in order to transact in fiat, at the same time enabling a decentralized exchange mechanism.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think both of you actually hit on a very, very important point. It's the reason why a lot of these Bitcoin and blockchain hardcore fans actually hate this idea. It's because Square is actually getting the financial or the centralized financial system a part of the Bitcoin transaction. So yeah, they need to be a part of it, I feel.
It's not exactly decentralized when Square has a good chunk of control and makes a good killing out of it. So one other concern which I was thinking of as well, with most central governments being skeptical about the current cryptocurrencies, they also see it as a potential for how they can improve their own transaction systems. So each country has their own crypto project in play. As we speak, there are a few countries who are in the process of putting it together. I think China was one of the first in the game with the digital yuan. America is trying to launch one. India is launching one. Even here in Australia, the Australian government has invested some money for a digital currency, which will be backed on the dollar. So this is one of my biggest concerns with Block getting too invested in Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's why in the beginning I was like, it's massive risk. So maybe this is a good point to finish off. Like, we or I and Mo own the stock and are quite heavily invested in Block, right?
Yep.
And to your point, Blake, it is a huge risk that they're entering into this murky territory, which is largely sort of extremely high risk. So yeah, it makes me a little bit worried. But on the flip side, their stable part of their business, which is Cashapp, Square Tools, and Afterpay, which will be soon part of it, is still doing really well. So it's not that they're completely flipping the business, right?
100% agree. And we don't have to think of this as a venture which absolutely has to succeed for Square or Block to be successful.
Well,
in
the Blocked.
Yeah, but it's you are the one associating it with a blockchain. They might have named it Block for absolutely a myriad number of reasons. One of the reason is the blockchain, and that's, I think, a part of why they chose the name. But irrespective, Square earlier has had failures. Like, did you know they had a delivery business called Caviar, which was trying to rival that of a Deliveroo, Uber Eats and stuff like that, and completely tanked. It was a useless venture. They lost money in it and they got out of it. TBD and TBDex and all of this stuff might end up not being successful, but the company as a whole is still a solid business in the end.
I think with a lot of these softwares and digital companies, there is the scalability of these things. If it works well, you can quickly scale it up and very quickly grow into a big venture from a small venture.
Yeah. In the end, what I was going to ask, Blake, have we convinced you to invest in Block yet?
Well, I'm speaking to two blockheads, and at the moment, I'm looking at the stock price of Square, and it is going a bit sideways. And I'm sure it has a lot of potential upside in 5 years, 10 years. But at the moment, I would wait and watch to see if this square peg is indeed fitting in a square hole.
You know what? You call us blockheads. I'd like to quote from the movie In the Heights. Have you guys seen that movie? Pretty good. Pretty damn good. One thing he says is, until the day we go from poverty to stock options, today's all we got. We cannot stop. This is our block.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
sounded like you made it up.
I mean, Jack Dorsey just dropped a tear.
I reckon they can play that at the unveiling of Block.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. I think this was a lovely discussion. We went really in depth into these two companies. And I'm really happy with how episode number 5 turned out. So stay tuned for episode number 6. Bye-bye.
See ya.